Please be seated. In an interview, Jason Allen Butler, the lead singer of the band Let Live and someone who I draw a lot of inspiration from, states that the band's song Mother is about love and forgiveness. He says that people will falter or fail in life, but the song's about how love is more than just face value. Love is about understanding people for what they are, not for what they have done, but for what they can be. I experienced this type of unconditional love last August when I attended the Leader in Training, or LIT program at Camp Kawartha, a wilderness-based camp that I've attended almost every summer for the past 10 years. It was a month-long program that focused on developing the necessary skills to be a successful and effective leader. Although I loved the workshops and leadership opportunities that I participated in, it was the group of 10 other campers who took part in the program that had the greatest effect on me. The bond that was established between us truly amazed me and helped me to overcome many of my own personal obstacles. I can honestly say that I would not be the same person standing here today had it not been for that month at camp. Last year, I experienced one of the most difficult times of my life. Towards the end of my grade 10 year, I fell into a depression that lasted for over a year. I felt extremely alone and was very uncomfortable with nearly every aspect of myself. My self-esteem was at an all-time low, and I felt hopeless that these feelings would ever go away. I lost friends as a result of this depression, and ultimately, I lost a year of my life that I can never get back. This was the darkest time of my life, and to be honest, I still have trouble talking about it today. It was around July last summer when I found that I started to feel a bit differently. I don't know what it was, but I woke up one morning and just felt as if my head was clear. Although I was not feeling completely like myself, I was finally starting to resurface out of this depression. Still, as August and my departure for camp approached, I found that I was getting more and more anxious about what my experience would be like. The main reason that I'd really started to feel better was that I'd more or less cut myself off from everyone outside of my family and just taken some time for myself. I didn't know how a month of constantly being around people might change how I was feeling. The night before my departure, there was a huge thunderstorm. The sound of the thunder was deafening, and I could almost feel the wind shaking the walls of our cottage. This storm was essentially an externalization of what I was feeling inside. I spent hours that night worrying about the next month. What if I didn't fit in? What if the other campers didn't like me? What if all the bad feelings from the past year came back worse than ever? Nonetheless, I left for camp the next day, and almost as soon as I arrived, I knew that I didn't need to worry. Just a couple of minutes after I got there, as I was waiting in line for nurse checks, I remember turning around to find a couple of my friends from the previous year with the biggest smiles on their faces running over to give me a hug. From this moment on, I found that this was a place where I would be cared for and accepted, no matter how different from everyone else I might be or what mistakes I might make. This sentiment of excitement and happiness continued throughout the rest of the day and ultimately through the rest of the month. Despite this, I still found that at times I'd experience periods of depression where I'd feel really down, my insecurities would pollute my mind to the point that I was almost unable to think about anything else. One such time was when we were on our 5-day canoe trip through Algonquin Park. It was late at night and a few of us were lying outside to look up at the stars. For whatever reason, these feelings began to come back to me and I had the overwhelming urge to be alone, so I wandered to another part of the island's waterfront. The moon was particularly clear that night, and I admired it and how it reflected off of the water for a really long time. After a while, a question came to mind. Why? Why was I letting myself feel so miserable and so alone when there was a group of people who I knew loved and cared for me just 30 feet away? From that moment onwards, I promised myself that even when things weren't going my way, I'd find at least one single tiny little thing that I could enjoy to help me feel better, just like the moon's reflection in the water had that night. I was able to keep this promise throughout the rest of the month, and as I did so, I found that things that really used to bother me just didn't seem like a big deal anymore. Although my insecurities were still there, I began to understand that I should not let them define who I am or the decisions that I make. I allowed myself to open up to the rest of the LIT group and began to truly feel like a part of a family. This connection that was built between all of us allowed me to feel comfortable and safe in that group, because I knew that they cared for and valued me for who I was, and quite honestly, that was a connection that I hadn't felt in a very long time. My self-confidence grew immensely, and as a result, I began to love and appreciate myself again. After a year of self-hatred, low self-esteem, and loneliness, I finally felt like myself again. Instead of being ashamed of how I might be different from the rest of the group, I was able to cherish these differences. Even though each person in our lit group was from a completely different place, had different interests, and even belonged to a different group of people at school, we took advantage of these differences to help one another. One person's weakness lied where someone else's strength was, so that as a group, we were stronger than any of us were individually. This was when I made a second promise to myself. I would not let these sentiments end after I left camp. I am proud to say that still, I stand here today with the same feeling of pride that I had at camp for overcoming my depression. I feel more comfortable and confident in myself than ever, and whenever I do feel a semblance of that same weakness as before creeping in, I think back to camp and the second family that I know I have there. I honestly would not be the same person that I am today if it were not for that group of 10 amazing people, and I'm thankful for that every single day. Since summer, I've been able to have a much greater appreciation for the Appleby College community. Since grade 9, one of my favorite aspects of school life has been the sense of unity that is provided through the chapel services. However, I am now finding that I'm feeling this unity to an even greater extent than before, and I'm extremely happy to be able to give back to the chapel program through my role as a warden this year. Of course, this sense of unity is not only felt in the chapel. I encourage everyone here today to search for this feeling of community through Appleby's many other aspects, such as our athletic programs, our many artistic endeavors or clubs, or even our academic courses. Now, I understand there may be some people here today who might be feeling as I was a year ago or may feel this way in the future. So I would like to conclude my speech with a couple of pieces of advice that I know would have helped me. First, be open towards other people. If you're having trouble finding strength in yourself, turn towards friends or family. You do not have to tell them everything that you're going through, but allow them to love you for who you are, even if you're not able to do that yourself at this point. Second, smile. I know that sounds a bit ridiculous, but at the start of each day, just look in the mirror and smile at yourself. Or make a conscious effort to smile at others as you pass them in the hallway. This simple action can really go a long way towards making you feel better. Third, and most importantly, have hope. It may feel like this will never end, but I promise you there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You may not always be able to see it, but you will reach that light eventually, and when you do, you'll feel better than you ever have before. Finally, I would like to say that I love every single person in the chapel here today. Whether we're best friends or we've never even spoken a word to each other, each of you has helped me more than you could ever imagine. It is because of all of your support that I continue to have the confidence and happiness that I found at camp, and for that, I can never thank you enough. Now let us stand together and sing hymn 352.